This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1735, Previews.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From capes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read. And comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes, this is...
I'm Ian Levinstein.
And I'm Chris Eberly.
Comic Geek Speak!
Woo!
I believe in Ian Levinstein.
And I believe in Galactus.
Welcome, one and all, to our monthly previews episode. This will be an abridged version. There's only two of us in the trenches today.
Yep, Mr. Murdo is off viewing the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Milwaukee Brewers tonight.
That's right. And we should remind our listeners that, as always, a previous episode is sponsored by DiscountComicBookService.com, DCBService.com. And as we've said, we remind our listeners every month, if you don't have a comic shop near you or you just don't want to go to a comic shop, this is the place to go for your comic book subscription. All things related to comics in terms of the previous catalog, floppies, trades, shirts, ephemera, etc., all available through DCB Service. They give the absolute best discounts they can possibly afford based on what my experience to reach on what I see on their site. Their service is impeccable, always on time. If any mistakes are made, which is extremely rare, I've been using them since 2000. I'm a newbie, really. I've been using them since 2017. They never made a mistake in my shipments yet. There have been times where I've missed things, and I email them, they get in the next shipment without any problems. Family-run company. They have a store too, don't they, Ian?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
I believe they recently moved back to Indiana.
Okay, so this is – look – the bottom line is comic book retailing is, as I know from experience, is an extremely difficult business. And the fact that these people, this family is continuing to provide this service with such high quality, I can't recommend them enough. We all use them to varying degrees. Please, if you want to give them a try, we highly recommend them without reservation. DCBService.com.
Most definitely. And my usual warning, if you hear the tap, tap, tap in the background, that's just me checking it out on DCBS.
All right, so we're going to do sort of more of a lightning round, abridged version of previews this month. And it's just the two of us. Of course, Ian, I'm in awe of your presence. I'm honored you're here with us.
Happy to be here. Happy to be out of that crappy weather we've been having for the past couple of days.
Yeah, so as we're recording this, it is May 14th, 2019. And I just saw in the news, actually, that of the past, I think, 32 days, 26 days, it's rained.
Yeah. You know it's bad when the Yankees get rained out 2 days in a row.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the weather report is looking promising going forward. So I'm hopeful that spring will soon bless us.
Here's hoping.
But in the meantime, I'm happy to be cozy in my basement office, surrounded by my beloved books and films, original art, and on the headset, that sonorous voice that just reassures that everything's going to be all right.
Oh yes, same here. I'm ready to talk some comics.
All right, let's start with Image.
All right,
and obviously right away I have to mention on page 46, Sea of Stars #1, because the co-writer is Jason Aaron.
Yep, with Dennis Hallam.
I'm not familiar with his work. Are you?
Not really. However, I do see that he did have work on Cloak and Dagger and Vader Darth Visions.
Okay, well, those are respectable credits, to be sure.
Yeah. And,
art by Stephen Green, and also covered by Mike Mignola.
Yep. Yeah.
It's basically about a space trucker who gets separated from his son while they're doing a long haul, and their attempts to reunite.
Loving the look of the art, too.
Yeah, the art looks great, and if Aaron's involved, I'm at least giving the first issue a try.
Most definitely. So, yep.
Enough said about that.
You'll be doing that at a 50% discount at DCBS, by the way, for $1.99.
Outstanding, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Page 50. Go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, Unearthed #1. Writer Cullen Bunn and Kyle Stram. Pretty much everything Cullen Bunn puts out is great, and this looks fascinating. More of a, it looks like here it's sort of a zombie tale, but at the same time sci-fi-esque, like a flesh-warping virus descends onto Mexico, and there's a whole bunch of tracing the source of the disease and stuff like that. So, like a bunch of different concepts combined into one here for this new one. And it's nice to see a bunch of #1s that have imaged this month. I feel like it's been a while since we've had some new series.
No, I was going to note that as well. And as I've mentioned the air many times over the years, Image is the company that most excites me because I just feel they're so true to the mission of trying to show how diverse the comic book genre remains in terms of content.
Yep.
So, and we definitely get that here. Page 54, Reaver #1, writer Justin Jordan, art by the great Rebecca Isaacs.
Got a cover by Becky Cloonan as well.
Oh, I love Becky Cloonan's work. Oh, fantastic artist.
Mm-hmm.
The continent of Madaris once promised a new star for settlers, but 200 years after its discovery, the war rages on. Deep within this savage and untamed land, a darkness builds that must be stopped at all costs. To do so, the Imperials assemble 6 of its most despicable prisoners. So basically, this is the Dirty Dozen.
Yep. Just
6 of them. It's sort of like a sci-fi context. Love it.
I'd say Dirty Dozen meets Mad Max from the looks of from the art. Yeah. And this is another 50% off deal, by the way, for $1.99. So, easy foothold there for a first issue.
Yep. And anybody that does riff on Dirty Dozen, I'm always on board with that.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, page 56, Mark Miller.
Yep.
Space Bandits, 1 of 5.
Going back to his sci-fi styling here from the looks of it. And Matteo Scalera is on the art. Familiar name, but I'm not sure from where. I know I've definitely heard the name before, though.
As have I, but beyond that, I cannot help you, my friend. I apologize for failing you.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I will say, however, that the art style is Immonen-esque, especially in the facial expressions.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with that.
Now, page 58, I've never read Black Science. Have you read this series?
No, I haven't. It's another one of my dark spots. I think I might have volume 1 sitting on a shelf somewhere. But I need to get into it at some point. And now that the latest arc is concluding here, and it looks like might be concluding in general.
And it's series finale. And here's why you've heard of Matteo Scalera, because he's the artist of Black Science.
And there we go. Okay, then.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Remender's got a lot on his plate, so it doesn't surprise me that this is ending. But hopefully there'll be something new to take its place soon enough.
Anything that gets, because I'm looking at the testimonials here on the page, that gets high praise from Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt is a huge comic book fan.
Oh yeah.
So that carries a lot of weight with me.
Most definitely.
Page 59, Bitter Root. I read the first issue of this series. I have to get the trade for that first arc, but the first issue was wonderful. Again, I love the team of David Walker and Sanford Green. Mm-hmm. And this is a one-shot that explores the history of the Sangarai family, who are a family that in the main series, they're in like sort of the Harlem Renaissance era. And they're battling monsters, which, if I remember correctly, are fueled by hate. I think
so. Yeah.
It was great, so I'm looking forward to this.
And then for as many beginnings as we have, and we'll definitely have
really front loading stuff here. Holy mackerel!
You ain't kidding. Paper Girls #30, the series finale. Obviously, Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang and Matt Wilson on the art. I'm behind on this, but I do have, I think, all but the most recent trade on my shelf. So I think I have about 3 volumes to read. So I might just very well wait until this last volume is out and then just knock them all down at once.
I'm going to have to do that as well because I had to. It's a great series, but I dropped it just because of money.
Yeah.
So with the intention of, because I knew Vaughn would have an ending, as he has an ending for all of his books.
Sure.
For the end. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and a very striking cover as well.
Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say very striking cover as well, with them all biking away as the first issue had them biking towards you.
Good point.
Yeah.
See, this is one of the many reasons why Ian is an invaluable member of the CGS Legion. That callback. All right, I got a rave on page 62.
Go ahead.
I mentioned this, I think maybe our last previews about, or a comic talk perhaps, about the last couple issues of the latest volume of Criminal, which explored the decline and fall of a fictional great comic book artist. There's some basis in history here, in terms of the story, that Brubaker and Phillips have borrowed from some actual events, but it's a fictitious story. Phenomenal. And it was so well received, they've already packaging it in a hardcover.
Wow.
OGN format with additional pages.
That's
new
something.
scenes. I'm ordering this without hesitation. Again, I every month I always talk about how this is one of the best creative teams in comics and has been now for quite a few years, and this continues that streak. If you love like the dark side, the dark underbelly of comic book history, like the different trials and tribulations of creators in the bad old days, this is a story you're going to eat up.
And a hardcover for $10.19 on DCBS.
Outstanding.
Yes, indeed. Then right beneath that, a collection of Robert Kirkman's Die, 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 Volume 1. This collects issues 1 through 8. I believe this is that Stealth series that I talked about a couple of previous prior.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned that.
Yep. And now here it is collected in the one edition for Volume 1 here. An evil world where evil people do evil stuff all the time. The United States government works outside the normal system to influence world matters through targeted assassination. And that's what we have here out of Robert Kirkman and Scott Gimple, with art by the amazing Chris Burnham.
Yeah, Burnham's great.
Yep.
Do you consider Kirkman a better writer or a better visionary?
I'd say visionary. I mean, mind you, again, nothing beats Invincible for me. However,
That's right.
I think that over the years, while he is a great writer, it's the worlds that he crafts that matter most to me. And he does a great job with that, both with his both with his stuff on TV and the comic books themselves.
Indeed.
So I definitely would say more wide reaching than just a writer.
Page 66. Jeez. The first 9 volumes of Saga collected.
Oh my God.
1,400 pages.
No, I'm sorry. It's too big. It's too big. I can't. If I didn't already own it, I would not own it in this format. And
Issues 1 through 54, $60 before the discount.
More power to you if you're going to sit this on a table and just read through it in that fashion like a phone book, because there's something about it. I need to be able to hold it in my hands and relax on a bed or something like that and read it. That's not happening with something this big.
Well, you could lay it across the bed and then, kind of lay on your stomach, arms folded beneath your chin.
Yeah.
And you could go from page to page.
That's true.
I love the Rolling Stone testimonial. May it run for 1,000 issues.
Yeah. And it might take 1,000 years to happen, but it'll definitely wind up.
Well, it's supposed to be coming back this year or next year, right?
I'll believe it when I see it.
This year. Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. I know it's coming back. It just wouldn't surprise me if the break takes longer than expected, just because Brian K. Vaughan has so much on his plate elsewhere.
What else does he have on his plate?
He's always working in media and in other projects, so it wouldn't surprise me if it gets a little bit more delayed. But here's hoping it doesn't.
I have faith in Vaughn.
Yes, indeed.
That's all I have to say.
Yep.
I'm done with Image unless you have something else you want to talk about.
I got one more on page 65,
Please.
actually.
And actually, I have one more thing after you. I spoke too soon. Go ahead.
Speaking of Mark Miller, here's his work with Raphael Albuquerque, Prodigy Book 1.
I enjoyed the first issue. All I read was number 1.
Yeah, and it certainly looks like a fascinating story just from the cover alone and the blurb here. About a businessman with a brilliant mind. He's a Nobel Prize winner, genius composer, Olympic athlete, expert in the occult, and now international governments are calling on him to fix problems they just couldn't handle.
Yep. And the first issue captures all of that, and it's pure Miller.
All right.
So I wanted to point out my last thing I wanted to say about Image.
Yeah.
On page, forgive me here. Oh, I missed it. Here it is, page 80. Lazarus, Risen number 2.
Ooh.
Now, Rucka and Lark have now decided to release this book in a quarterly sort of prestige format. $7.99. I read. I should have talked about Fracture Part 1 because it came out. This is one of the best titles in comics, and I love this new format. And I'm wondering if more and more we're going to see this as a format for other books going forward. Again, it's creator owned. That they just chock full of additional like bonus materials. One of the best letters pages in comics. Rucka commenting on politics and technology. It's a tremendous book, and I love this new format. So it's highest recommendation. I've talked about Lazarus many times ad nauseum on the show, but I'm really digging this new format. It's well worth the wait.
Yep. And one more on page 88, just real quick, to mention the fact that we are now one issue away from Spawn number 300.
Oh, my God.
Yep. This is War to 300 Part 2. Last issue before Spawn 300, written as always by Todd McFarlane and art by Jason Sean Alexander, and they're totally aping 90s Spider-Man on the covers now, and I absolutely love the cover dress.
Yeah, they are. Well, I stopped reading Spawn. I mean, around issue 50 or so, but
yeah,
you know. 300 issues, you got to give some props.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I haven't read it in forever either, and frankly, I'm just glad it exists.
Something that I will always read as we move into Dark Horse is on page 98. This is immensely exciting.
Oh my God, yeah.
Black Hammer Justice League crossover. Hammer of Justice 1 of 5, written by Jeff Lemire, the creator of Black Hammer. Damn.
So here's my question. Do you think this is going to be out of continuity Justice League story, or do you think this is going to be more along the lines of Starman when he crossed over with Hellboy, and it's actually somewhat important to the overall story?
I don't know, and honestly, Ian, I don't care. All that matters is Jeff Lemire is writing these characters.
That's true. Yep.
And again, a wonderful testimonial by Patton Oswalt I'm going to read here.
Yep.
I didn't think something could be thrilling and sad at the same time. But now this Black Hammer proved me wrong. Amazing. Just flat out amazing. So we got Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman. Starro attacks. So, come on. I mean, this is... I've been raving about this book since it came out. It's one of the best superhero comics on the stands.
Yep.
Loving take on like the dark underbelly of a golden age type universe. It's amazing. It's an Eisner winner, and now they're bringing the Justice League into it. Just get it. Well, and the next page. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
I was going to say they have on the next page Volume 4. And that makes me believe that it might very well be time for me to get volumes 1 through 3 to catch up.
Oh, of Age of Doom. Yep. And have you read any of the series?
No, I have not.
Really?
Yeah. No, I have not. It's with my switch to digital, my reading has become sparser as to what I actually pick up. I wait for sales for the most part. And I have not seen one recently on Black Hammer. However, if I see a good price on the digital side for the volumes, I will snatch them in a moment.
Yeah, please do. You're not going to be disappointed. They also have on page 101 the World of Black Hammer Encyclopedia, which is a great way to get insights into the whole universe that Lemire and his artistic collaborators are creating. Very
cool.
So that's all on page 101.
We got on page 102, the very next page, for anybody who's a fan of Critical Role, a miniseries based in their world. Critical Role is one of the most popular Dungeons & Dragons campaigns out there, available in podcast form. And this is a trip into their world in a 6-issue miniseries by Jody Hauser and Olivia Sampson on the art. And I've never really been a Critical Role guy, but I know plenty of people who are, including the ever-mentioned Raphael Suhus. So I'm sure that they'll be regaling me on information about this for days and months to come as it's coming out. So give it a shot if you're a fan of Critical Role.
I want to make a comment, by the way. How nice D&D players are. Because in my last years of my store, we were trying to incorporate various gaming. Mm-hmm. I'll talk more about that in a moment when we get to page 117.
Yeah.
The D&D, I mean, I don't know if it's just the people who were there, but the D&D community were such nice people.
Yep.
Low maintenance, did their own thing. Whereas there were other types of gaming people I wanted to like banish forever and never see again. I don't know if that's just me or if you found out. Is that true about D&D players in general? I don't know.
It completely depends on the group. You know, I mean, you can have a group of surly men, and you can have a group of people that are just there to have a good time.
Yeah.
And
I
would like to hope that my D&D group are just there to have a good time, but you never know.
Yeah, my experience though over those 5 years at the end there was, with one exception, who was a DM who was trying to rip us off, who was a slime bag, but otherwise really great people.
Yep. So. Yeah, and it's become one of my favorite things to do at gaming conventions as well, is watch D&D in an audience with other people. So very good stuff. I also
what else want to talk about Dark Horse?
I got one on page 104 because I'm a huge fan of the show. The Orville New Beginnings.
I've never seen this show, but I love McFarlane.
If you're a fan of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you will be a fan of the Orville,
because it's not totally a comedy, correct?
No, it is not, and it starts off a little shakier, where they're not quite sure what direction they want to take it. By the time you get to season 2 is leaps and bounds better than season 1. Season 1 is good, but season 2 is excellent. And they do some things there with the story that I was never expecting them to do. And they essentially, it's not that a spoiler to say, they essentially introduce their Borg, their constant nemesis in the second season. And it's a really well done multiple episode arc that's stunning.
Wow.
I completely blew me out of the water and was not expecting that from a show like The Orville. And it's very much surprising me every single week.
Does he write it?
He co-writes it, yes.
Okay, so this is his take on his loving tribute to Star Trek, then.
Yes, and this is being written by David A. Goodman with art by David Cabeza. And it's a again, something that could be as ripe as Star Trek, property wise, if they treat it right. So I'd be willing to check this out to see if it feels like the show.
And the show is still running, correct?
The show is still running. It just got picked up for season 3. So the season 2 finale just aired, and you can watch all of it on Hulu, I believe. So if you wanted to catch up that way,
one of the things I'll do this summer.
Yep, definitely.
Although I'm on season 4 of Game of Thrones.
Oh boy.
So, have you watched all of Game of Thrones?
Oh, I sure as hell have, and I will not spoil anything. I'll just say last week's was goddamn.
Okay, so that my primary viewing mission through the year is to get through all that. So
yes.
That's first and foremost. So I'll say now, spoilers, because you haven't watched any of the show. I'm talking now about season 4, which I'm in the middle of.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, Ian.
Yeah.
I've never enjoyed watching a character die on television rather than watch that little prick Joffrey die of poison.
Oh, you and me both, man. You and me both.
That was. I relished every moment of that.
Yeah, no, it is one of the most satisfying moments in the history of television, right there. And I am completely in the same camp as you. One other comment I'll make about this sure. Based on the art is that I appreciate the fact that they're not trying too hard for likeness, while at the same time definitely capture the same feel of the characters from the looks of these preview pages. It's reminiscent to the art on Buffy when that first started with season 7 or season 8, where they get who they are, but they're not necessarily photo realistic.
And I prefer that way.
Same here.
As a Cullen Bunn fan, you want to talk about page 106?
Yeah, sure. Black Manor number 1 of 4 here. It's from the same creators of Harrow County and The Sixth Gun. So it's teaming back up Cullen Bunn with art by Tyler Crook. This looks like it's going to be from the looks of it, it's got to be horror or something, like just looking at the pages. But it's as his wicked and corrupt children fight over who will take the reins of Manor Black and become representatives of the black arts, Roman adopts a young mage whom he gifts his power to with the hope that someone good will take his place against the evil forces out to bring down his family and legacy. So horror fantasy from the looks of it. And I'd be down for that. It's a 4-issue miniseries for now. So could be will be easily collected.
Now, I only have one other thing on Dark Horse, unless you have other stuff you want to comment on.
I'll just also comment that was 50% off, by the way, for $1.99. But please continue.
Anything else in Dark Horse you wanted to talk about?
Not much. I'm just scrolling through real quick to see if I miss anything, because that's the joys of a PDF. I don't remember until I'm looking at it. There is, you know what? Screw it. Why not? Page 111. The Quiet Kind. It's a one-shot. You don't see many of those.
No, you don't.
So that's why I'm calling it out here. Jeremy Treese, with art by Kelly Williams and a cover by Michael Cho. A child suddenly imbued with the powers of ancient gods is visited by a band of similarly gifted children. Will young Solomon hone his skills with the others? Will he risk unraveling existence and use his raw control of reality just to get revenge on some bullies? It sounds really cool, and the writer is the same writer as Bitter Root, which I've heard very positive things about. So yeah, if you want something, one and done, that's a good way to do it. So give it a shot.
All right, I wanted to point on page 117. Of course, this caught my eye. CBLDF presents Selling Comics, the guide to retailing and best practices in the greatest modern art form.
Oh, wow.
So the nuts and bolts of modern comics retailing, with essays and best practices guidelines from some of the sharpest minds in the industry, articles on every aspect of comic retailing, staging successful in-store events, training staff, and diversifying product lines. Selling Comics is a ground-level guide to building, developing, and growing your shop. So I'm really intrigued by this. I don't think I'm going to get it because in some ways it'll be too painful for me to read. But one thing I will say to anybody out there who's considering opening a comic shop or some variation thereof, a confessional moment. The greatest mistake I made in my last years of retailing was I was selling stuff I didn't love. And my experience is if you don't do that, if you're selling stuff you don't love, it's going to go south on you eventually. And kind of when I was talking before about D&D, and I'll be blunt because it doesn't matter anymore. I so loathed Magic the Gathering by the end of that tenure, and I so couldn't stand like 2/3 of the players.
Yeah.
And that's not just them; that's also me. It was not a good mix. I won't go on a rant because it's just not the time or place.
Sure.
But, you got to sell what you love.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to open a comic shop, which honestly I really wouldn't recommend at this point in the 21st century, because I think that whole model is just it hasn't realized it's dead yet. But and I'm not saying that in terms of bitter grapes. It's just look at the state of things. But
combo shops are the way to go if you're going to do anything.
No, that's what I was going to say. You have to have other things in your store because otherwise you're not going to survive.
Definitely. Yeah.
Especially if you're opening like a smaller store, you got to pick some other product lines out that hopefully you're really into, that you can supplement, because the comics alone will not keep the doors open.
Yeah.
In almost all cases.
Yep.
So that's what it just. Sell what you love, boys and girls, and you're going to be all right.
If you need more information on it, it's 40% off for $8.99 on DCBS. So good discount there to anybody who's an aspiring store owner. I've got one on 119 that Murd would be calling out if he was here. Disney: A Christmas Carol, starring
I knew you'd
Scrooge
bring
McDuck.
that up.
Yep. Celebrate the holiday spirit in this adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic ghost story featuring Scrooge McDuck. And written by Guido Martina, with art by Jose Colomer Funtz, I believe his name is pronounced.
Sure.
And it's I mean, come on, it's Christmas Carol and it's Scrooge McDuck. It's bound to be fun. So if you're into any of those interpretations or characters, go ahead and give it a shot.
Ready for DC?
Let's do it.
Now, did you read Sean Murphy's first Batman epic, The White Knight?
No, I have not. I think I mentioned an episode or two ago that I was waiting for that to be collected. So I think I will be picking that up in trade at some point.
Because it got a lot of praise.
It did, yes. Yeah,
and it's the sequel to it, also by Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
So
Curse of the White Knight, #1.
Yeah, and I remember Sean Murphy appeared at a Super Show some years back.
Yes. And I love seeing people that were associated with Super Show in any way, shape, or form doing positive in the comics world this many years later. So
hell yeah,
definitely. But yeah, this is the sequel, and he's doing both the art and the writing. So I will have to read White Knight to see what this is all about. And this is a 50% off Steel on DCBS 8-issue miniseries, and this is #1 for $249.
All right. No, I have nothing to say till page 12. So if you want to fill in before that, go ahead.
Taking a look real quick. Why not? The Secret Spiral of Swamp Kid. Since I've been pointing out these young adult books that they've been putting out from DC, because frankly, I think they're a very positive thing. Here's one written by Kurt Scroggs, and he's also the artist. And warning, unless you have express permission from Russell Wainwright to access his notebook, do not read any further. Seriously, we mean it. And the cover of it looks like a notebook for a young kid, essentially, and it looks like a teenage version of Swamp Thing that they're going to be putting out. So that looks really cool and interesting to me, and perhaps a Diary of a Wimpy Kid-esque action going on here. But yeah, The Secret Spiral of Swamp Kid, available this month from DC. All
right. I wanted to celebrate one of my favorite writers I haven't read in a while on page 12 and 13, Matt Fraction.
Yes.
Jimmy Olsen #1 with art by the great Steve Lieber. That's not even a hesitation. That's not on my order. I don't give a crap what the story is about. It's Fraction and Steve Lieber. And then on the opposite page, Greg Rucka writing with Mike Perkins, Lois Lane #1. I'm getting that too.
Nice.
Because it's Greg Rucka. I mean, geez Louise.
Did you see on the previous pages they're collecting stories that were originally available in the Giant Size collections?
Yes, saw that.
So we got Bendis's Batman story, we've got Tom King's Superman story, and we've got Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti's Wonder Woman stories being collected and available in comic shops for the first time. So that's
well. Wait,
really
were these
cool.
stories? What form were they released in originally?
These were originally in the Walmart Giant Size specials.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now these are available in on their own, collected as one story for the first time, available in comic shops. So basically, one shots of the the other stories that were in multiple Giant Size.
I'll try to get the Tom King one at the very least.
Definitely. Yep. Doom Patrol Weight of the Worlds on page 11. The return of Gerard Way's Doom Patrol and the Young Animal line in general after a little bit of a hiatus. It'll be Gerard Way with art by James Harvey this time around. And we got another story in his Doom Patrol world. I unfortunately have not read the first Doom Patrol by Gerard Way, which is a disappointing for me because I love his writing style. But I may very well just jump in whole hog and pick this up and see what it's like. If not, if I can track down the first volume, maybe in a library or somewhere, I'll go ahead and give that a shot. But
Ian, I want to point out how inspiring it was that you used the term whole hog without irony, without sarcasm. That was a sexy moment for you, sir.
Thank you. I am a wordsmith at best.
We should mention, by the way, that DC's running a big narrative promo this month, Year of the Villain, The Offer.
Yeah, they are. It has begun. Let's put it that way. It's gonna be a long year for our heroes, from the looks of things. Yep.
I got to get back to Aquaman because I after. What the hell's his name? Fine writer. After Abbott got off I loved his run. Again, because of my budget, I like shift around. I follow writers basically. So nothing against Kelly Sue DeConnick, who's an excellent writer.
Sure.
I stopped reading Aquaman. But I love this cover with Black Manta.
Oh, yeah.
I may jump back in.
He's got the beard back in full form, so he's very much looking like his Peter David days.
Yep. Great variant cover by Ryan Sook. Wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jumping ahead to page 20 and 21 because I have to do my monthly, dribbling homage to Tom King.
But of course.
Batman 74 and 75. City of Bane begins.
Oh boy.
So I'm gonna guess we're moving into the end game here, for in terms of Bane's plot, which of course involved his marriage, the potential marriage going down the tubes. It seems so. Man, I've just been reading today because I got my shipment, a week or two ago. I think it's Batman 68.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read? Are you current on Batman?
Not even close. No,
Okay,
I'm like right even before the wedding. Like I need.
Okay.
So I will be
won't spoil
catching up
anything else.
eventually, but for now I have a lot of catching up to do.
All I'll say is what amazes me about King's scripting on this title, and really of all of his work, the man can just do everything. He can write such light, funny, quirky, self-referential stories, and then he does these just psychologically creepy, disturbing, awesome, epic tales that just deconstruct a character right down to his core. I mean, for me, this is as good as it gets.
Wow.
So I'm very excited about where he's going with Batman.
We'll definitely be timing our next comic talk to be after Heroes in Crisis #9 comes out, because I might have some words. But that's
really,
I'm not exactly thrilled. I'll save my conversation for then. But it's gone off the rails for me a little bit. But
okay, I haven't read issue 8 yet. I had that in my pile.
Yeah.
So I assume you've read issue 8.
I have, and and
you weren't happy with it.
Not exactly. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for issue 9 to have full opinion on it. But it's I have words. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
I love when you have words. It's interesting to hear what Shane thinks of the story as well.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
Very next page, on page 22, Batman Secret Files #2, written by Andy Kubert, Tim Seeley, Steve Orlando, Margaret Scott, Colin Kelly, and Jackson Lanzig, and art by a bunch of different people in there as well. I love Secret Files, and I'm glad that the format's back.
Yeah, it's a great format.
Yep.
Those books were always fun.
Oh yeah,
really felt you got bang for your buck with those issues.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Let's see. I'm not done with DC, but I don't have a lot to say about a lot of the monthlies here.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick look here to see if anything else catches my eye.
Grant Morrison is doing a Green Lantern annual on page 39.
Ah, okay. All right, so that's at least one further issue of the Green Lantern than what was expected. So that's something.
Why do you say that?
Well, I didn't know that an annual was going to be in there, because I assume this is going to be a 12-issue arc. Like I doubt Morrison's going to be on it any longer than that. Just because Morrison tends to only be on things so long to begin with.
Right. Well, we're getting an annual out of him, though.
Excellent. I'm work with that. And page 37, by the way, since I've mentioned all the other previous parts of it, the finale of Flash Year 1 with a stunning cover by Howard Porter.
Oh yeah, look at that.
God, I love it. I love how kinetic his work can be.
Are you reading this series?
I'm gonna be. I'm
Okay.
100% committed to picking up and trade, because this is a series that I am interested in, because I've never exactly been a Barry Allen guy, and I want to see how they touch on his Year 1 to try to win me over.
Well, look at that variant cover of Captain Cold by Francis Manapul.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Holy mackerel.
Yep.
Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else in DC strikes my eye here.
Freedom Fighters #7. I guess we find out who the traitor is. I'll have to touch in with Murd on that to see if he's been keeping up with the series.
Is he following through on Freedom Fighters? I wasn't sure if he was or not.
I think he was yes or no on it. So I'll have to find out if he was actually a yes in the end. But I know he enjoyed a decent amount of the first issue. But yeah.
I'm jumping way ahead because I always have to point it out because it's just always great.
Mm-hmm.
On page 58, Scooby-Doo Team Up number 49, Metamorpho. On top, well, he's actually part of the Mystery Machine because he's merging with it, but it's just this. See, when I see a book like this, it takes me back to, all right, I'm going to the spinner rack at Hubbard's Cupboard in Warren, New Jersey in the early 80s. And comics were fun. And That's it right there.
AAA Comics and Cards for me. It was directly next to the Kingsway movie theater in Brooklyn. That was the place I went to get my first comic that I actually remember getting, Uncanny X-Men number 300 back in the 90s. And it then became Acme Comics a couple of doors down on the opposite side of the street, and from there I went to a couple of different shops. But those were the golden age for me of comics, essentially.
Well, let me share. And that, first of all, the fact that you said X-Men 300 is your first book reminds me of how middle-aged I am. But I'm perfectly content with that. But fantastic. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned over the years, my first shop. Because I started with flea markets and convenience stores. Yeah. And then in 1982, when G.I. Joe came out, which, of course, I was completely besotted with, and I found – you remember the old Marvel comics that have, like, the listing of comic shops in various states?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and in Somerville, right near where I live, great town, Quality Comics on Division Street. I said before, my mother has demonstrated her love for me in so many ways in my 46 years on this planet. But rarely more so than she would take me every month to this dank, just fetid pit.
Oh, boy.
Where, like, who knows what's skidding around in the shadows. I mean, the owner was clearly amused for the comic shop guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I mean, but I was so smitten, and the place was a hole. But I got G.I. Joe every month.
Nice.
And it all started there.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the same echelon of fun, page 50, Looney Tunes number 250. 250 issues of Looney Tunes. God. And this one is all about baseball, so that's why it catches my eye immediately. Written and drawn by Scott Gross.
I didn't realize it's around for 250 issues.
Neither have I.
Holy
Neither have
mackerel.
I, man. Yeah, and this is Bugs Bunny at the bat. Looney Tunes versus the Barnyard Dogs.
Look at old Foghorn Leghorn there.
I love it.
I'm on to trades unless you have any other floppies you want to shout out.
I'm taking a quick look here, and I think I'm with you because most everything else is in the middle of story arcs and what have you. Oh, you know what? I'll bring up one more just for the cover alone, and I really want to know what the hell they're doing with Bizarro now with this. But Red Hood Outlaw Annual number 3.
What page is that?
Page 57. I see a Bizarro with a beard.
Oh, Murd.
Yeah, and it's almost like a Hulk-esque looking Bizarro, like way more veiny and poppy than I ever expect him to look like. It's let's see where this one goes, to say the least. Written by Scott Lobdell and art by Adam Paulina, and an annual to the Red Hood Outlaw series.
So you hear the name Scott Lobdell, it takes us back to when you started reading comics.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
Because he was all over the X-Men universe in that time period.
He sure was, and he wrote The Wedding of Gene and Scott.
Yes. Oh, I thought Fabian Assisi wrote that.
No. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm thinking they were both doing it at the same time, so it's hard to remember who did what.
Yeah, they were. I think one was on Uncanny, the other was on X-Men. If I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Right. All right. I wanted to point out because Murr would definitely shout this out. We're into trades here on page 70.
Yep.
All-Star Comics, Only Legends Live Forever hardcover. So it collects all the Bronze Age Justice Society of America stories from All-Star Comics, Adventure Comics, and DC Special 29.
Oh, wow.
Great collection, $50 before discount. Paul Levitz, Jerry Conway writing. That's enough. Great artist, Joe Staton, Bob Layton, Wally Wood.
Wow.
I didn't realize he did some work on that. Keith Giffen. Covered by Staton and Giordano. Joe Staton was a guest at the last Super Show we did in 2013.
There you go. I have one more in the floppies, by the way.
Please.
Just real quick, because I have to mention Young Justice whenever possible, and it involves the multiverse, so you couldn't sell me any further than you already have. On page 68, Young Justice number 7, written by Bendis with art and cover by John Timms. Young Justice lost in the multiverse after the explosive conclusion of the Gemworld adventure. The team's having a hard time finding their way back to Earth. So I want to know where they wind up in this one, because there were some major revelations in the most recent Young Justice, especially with relating to Tim Drake, that have me very intrigued as to where Bendis is going with this series.
All right.
So good stuff.
I just want to point out, and then we should probably move on to the next company because our time is a little short.
Mm-hmm.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have another special episode we're recording after this one.
Woohoo.
Page 76, Hitman's Greatest Hits. So this is one of the best series Garth Ennis, I think, has ever done. It doesn't get the attention like Preacher does, but consistently great. I've talked about it before. I think Murd commented on one of the issues in one of his really recent time bubbles, actually. This collects some of the great standalone stories or mini arcs. This is a series I don't have all the collected. I have to have it all of the collected because it's so goddamn good. I highly recommend that. And then below that, Justice League of America, The Last Survivors of Earth, classic Bronze Age topical stories, socially conscious stories that you would get a lot in the Bronze Age.
Yep.
Like the truth behind a pollution blasting factory. So, Denny O'Neil writing some of that stuff. Mike Friedrich.
And right beneath that on page 77, by the way, Justice, the deluxe edition, has to be mentioned just for the fact that they're finally giving this Justice, by Alex Ross and Jim Kruger some further love with the Alex Ross and Doug Braithwaite art. I loved this series when it was coming out, and it deserves a deluxe edition with gorgeous painted art like that.
Ready for IDW?
Ready for IDW. Let's do it.
Okay, page 139. Walter Simonson, Ragnarok, The Breaking of Helheim. Okay, it's Walt Simonson doing Norse stories. What else needs to be said? I mean,
yeah, right.
He only did one of the greatest Thor runs of all time. So, come on.
I feel like that cover may also be like an homage to Thor in general. Just with the way that each character is posed.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, it looks like a very familiar image. Yep. Devin Grayson has a new series.
Good writer.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, a one-shot specifically. She's doing a one-shot for Glow, the wonderful Netflix series based on the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. And this is written by Devin Grayson with art and cover by Lisa Sturl. So we get some further Glow action by Devin Grayson, a name we do not see nearly enough these days.
No. Yep. And I've only seen a few episodes of that show, but I loved what I saw.
That's great. Yeah, especially the fact that Mark Maron is a spitting image of 1970s Stan Lee.
Well, you took the words because I'm a big fan of Mark Maron's podcast.
Yeah.
I got into that the past year, and it's really fun watching him on that show.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
All right. What else you got for IDW?
I'll go with actually a miniseries starting on page 141, Star Pig #1. This looks like a lot of fun. Writer Delia Dawson, art by Francesco Gaston, and like many late 21st century teens, geeky 16-year-old Vess gets packed off to spend her summer at space camp, which is literally in space. And a shuttle accident sends her and the passengers careening towards a cold, frosty death amongst the stars. And they wind up being rescued, and it looks like a nice, fun space adventure and young adult style here. Was
there a bad '80s movie called Space Camp?
There may have been. It sounds like there should have been, so I'm just going to say yes. But this is from New York Times best-selling author Delia S. Dawson. She did Star Wars Forces of Destiny and Marvel Action Spider-Man before this as well, and it might be worth giving a go.
A couple of things I wanted to shout out because I meant to shout this in the past few months and I kept failing. On page 161, Michael Avon Oeming is doing a Dick Tracy miniseries.
Huh. Okay.
This is issue 4, so it's the end, but I was remiss in not mentioning it earlier, but if there's any artist whose style lends itself to the world of Dick Tracy, man, it's Michael Avon Oeming. So
absolutely.
He's writing and drawing it, so that's probably worth checking out.
And page 146 has the collection of the new Transformers volume, volume 1 of The World in Your Eyes, which is supposed to be a bold new era for the Transformers crew. So it looks like it's mostly Gen 1 based. So anybody who's a fan of old school Transformers, this might be up your alley here. And it collects the first 12 issues into a large format hardcover. Let me see what the discount is on this, because there better be one, honestly, because I see that it's going for $50 normal. It'll go for $32.49 on DCBS. So
all right,
35%.
I'm jumping into page 169. I'm very excited. The last League of Extraordinary Gentlemen story is now being collected because I missed some of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So this is volume 4 of The Tempest. I'm definitely picking this up. $30 before discount. It's the culmination of. I mean, how do you even describe this world? It's like it's Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill taking every conceivable Pulp Fiction character you can think of.
Yeah.
And just running with them in this time-spanning, mind-bending adventure.
Absolutely.
It's a masterpiece.
Yep.
So, I also want to put on page 171, After the Spring, a story of Tunisian youth. Writer-artist cover, I'm going to mispronounce it, I apologize, Helene Aldeguer. It's all about young people in the aftermath of the Arab Spring in Tunisia, which, if you're not familiar with the history, Tunisia is the only country out of those series of revolutions that actually came out of the other end more or less with a democratic government. And the Arab Spring actually began in Tunisia when a street vendor apparently totally had just had it with government regulation, set himself on fire in protest, and then things went from there. So this is probably a very important story. It won all kinds of awards in Europe. So there's translated in English coming to you from IDW.
I got one a couple of pages prior on page 168. Cosmo Knights, almost for the name alone. Writer artist Hannah Templer, and they describe it as it combines the outer space thrills of Saga and Star Wars with the glamour and revolution of the Hunger Games.
Well, that's a hell of a testimonial right there.
You ain't kidding, yeah. And the cover reminds me a lot of She-Ra. And
She-Ra.
Yep. The new, not the old, of course.
Yeah, I know, and you're a big fan of the new one, right?
I am, yeah. The season 2 just launched a couple of days ago, actually, and I started that the other day, and I'm really enjoying where they're going with the series. So looks like it's going to be some well-drawn art and some very fun style there. So give it a shot if you like puns.
And the last thing I wanted to mention for IDW from my end is on page 173. We've raved about their artist edition series many times over the years. It takes various forms. And I had to sell a lot of these when I closed my store, but one of the few I kept was this one. Mazzucchelli's Born Again.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I've mentioned many times, this is my favorite comic book story of all time. If you love the Daredevil Netflix show, the 3rd season, which I thought was outstanding, really was inspired by this story.
Yep.
Although the show took it in its own direction, but that worked just fine. God, this is. I mean, I don't like to use this word loosely. This is a masterpiece. So if you either get this, or if you want to just get the regular trade, if you just want to get something cheaper, but it doesn't really get any better as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let's move on.
Marvel.
Moving on to Marvel.
Okay, first of all, the opening page is exciting. Marvel's Epilogue #1.
Yes.
Busiek and Alex Ross, and the premise is the all-new, all-different X-Men of the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
16-page story, $5. It's going to be worth every penny.
I had no idea this was happening.
Me neither.
And I'm glad it is. Yeah. This immediately has me intrigued. I mean, Marvel's is one of the best stories that Marvel has ever put out.
Absolutely.
And to now have an epilogue to go along with it.
You can see exactly where they're going here, because Phil Sheldon and his daughters are in Manhattan to see the Christmas lights, find themselves in the middle of a clash between the outsider heroes and the Deadly Sentinels. So that's like a classic X-Men Bronze Age story.
Wow.
That's in the I know exactly where they're going. Oh, wow.
And it's 40% off for $3 on DCBS as well. With a cover like that and with straight up Alex Ross art. Oh my God! Like, come on.
Yep. We'll be talking about that one on the air.
Yep.
And the next page. Okay, I'm very excited for this. We mentioned this briefly because they had a teaser in last month's previews. House of X #1.
I can't.
Now here's
wait.
what matters. It's written by Jonathan Hickman.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really been following the X-Men now for quite a few years. I jump in it once in a while. I never know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm jumping on this, with both feet.
I am so looking forward to this, only because, I mean, not just because of Hickman, but because of the art as well. But it seems like this is going to reboot and restart the X-Men the same way that Bendis did. Only I feel like it might actually have some lasting power to it.
Well, it says here, since the release of Uncanny X-Men 1, there have been 4 seminal moments in the history of the X-Men. Giant Size X-Men, X-Men, Age of Apocalypse, New X-Men.
Yep.
Wow, that's quite some company.
Yeah.
And it's basically saying this is going to be in the same on the same strata, essentially.
I'm sold. And Jonathan Hickman convinced them to cancel every other X book.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against the creators, but there's just too many.
Sure, yeah, but that he was able to pull that off and have this now be the only X book around while this is coming out.
And I'm going to buy it.
Absolutely, Powers of X and House of X. Boom.
Yeah, the art is gorgeous. Look at that art.
It's amazing. Oh. Yeah, love it. Good stuff.
And Powers of X, as you mentioned, is the companion book that he's writing.
Yep, and I see the. From the art that they have on that, we're going to have maybe some more spacefaring adventures.
Yep, which is just ideal with the X-Men.
Oh yeah.
Okay, holy God, look at on page 10. I missed this in my first perusal. History of the Marvel Universe by Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez.
Yep.
Look at that interior art.
It's amazing.
Murd, you got to be all over this, brother. Oh,
I saw when Mark Waid announced this on his Facebook.
Look at the Infinity Gems. Oh, look at that page.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a 6-issue series, and I cannot wait for this to be collected because it is going to be a shining gem when that happens. Like it'll be that one
the twilight of existence.
Oh my God, yeah. There's nothing better than that. Looks amazing.
Look at that page though with all the cosmic entities.
It's a sight to behold.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm also looking on page 14. Again, Jason Aaron's born to write certain characters. Now he's writing Valkyrie.
Yeah,
with Al Ewing.
Yep.
He's a great writer too because of Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
I don't know who Cafu is as the art, but I like the looks of it.
I've seen Cafu around a couple times, so that's not out of my realm there. But yeah, and the fact that this is the Valkyrie who it is means that it essentially continues Aaron's long running story in just a new form.
Terrific.
Yep. I'm jumping back and actually speaking of Asgardians, Loki has a new series on page 12. And his first ever, well, not first ever, an all new ongoing series for Loki with Daniel Kivelsmith is a name I am not familiar with at all. Art by Oscar Bazaldua, who I'm not familiar with at all. But at the same time, that cover is awesome and immediately has me struck.
Yes.
So I might give it a shot because I've always been a Loki fan. So. Who knows?
And on page 20, Mark Waid is writing an Invisible Woman miniseries.
Yes. The first time ever Invisible Woman has been in a solo series of any sort.
That's right.
Yeah.
And who better to tell that story than Mark Waid?
Yes, indeed.
Secrets about her past revealed therein will shake readers' perception of the Invisible Woman forevermore.
Yep.
All right. Next page, I'm loving Aaron's run on Avengers. It's so outstanding. He just so gets the characters, the dynamics, the feel. I mean, he balances that epic feel which you need for Avengers stories with the character interplay. It's just great.
Oh yeah.
So I highly recommend that. What else you got for Marvel? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We got a new Death's Head series. I
just saw that.
I did not see that coming at all. Page 24. Teenie Howard with Kay Zama. It's a 4-issue miniseries about Death's Head. One of the more weird characters in the history of the Marvel Universe.
That's a Marvel UK character, wasn't it?
Yes. Originally so, yes. And when a job goes wrong, intergalactic mech merc Death's Head wakes up half-assembled at a punk show.
All right.
All right, sure. Why not?
I wanted to point out that because I'm reading some stuff on Marvel Unlimited, and I'm reading Immortal Hulk on Marvel Unlimited. Ian, it is so damn hard to wait.
I know.
Because this book, I think Marvel Unlimited is through like issue 7 maybe.
Yep.
And now we're up through issue 21 in floppies. It's breathtaking how good this book is.
Yeah. Yep.
I haven't been this excited about the Hulk in a long time. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, speaking out to people who maybe haven't tried this book yet, maybe you're not a huge Hulk fan, doesn't matter. If you love the comic book art form, you love Marvel, pick this book up.
26 and 27 for the manga-esque style alone has me interested, but I see that Arrow #1 has a character from War of the Realms, Agents of Atlas, in their new ongoing series, and Swordmaster #1 on the next page, which is co-written by Greg Pak. Has basically the mighty Marvel martial arts double trouble in an all new ongoing series. Both of these series may very well be on my digital pull list just to check them out, because I love the trade dress, and the overall style of it just feels like that Marvel may actually be trying new things for the first time in a while. And
that's good. That's good to hear.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
I wanted to point out on page. Forgive me. First of all, Ecstatics are coming back, and Giants Ecstatic 1 and 34.
Yeah.
By Milligan and Allred.
Wow. Okay. Is it an anniversary? Like, is that why this is happening? Because I'd love to know if they're sticking around for anything past this, or if this is just a return to the.
It just says Giant Size #1.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. Okay.
Page 38. So Secret Wars. Al Ewing is at the helm with a lot of great writers: Mark Waid, Tim Seeley, among others. I can't afford all these books, but I'll probably read them on Unlimited, 6 months later.
Yeah. It's Secret Warps Soldier Supreme, Secret Warps Weapon Hex, Secret Warps Ghost Panther. I mean, oh my God, with a name like Ghost Panther. And Arachnite seems like it could be pretty awesome too. But my favorite is Iron Hammer.
Yes.
That's
I want to point out on page 42. This is very exciting. Captain America and the Invaders, the Bahamas Triangle #1. Okay, now I'm getting palpitations. The writer is Roy Thomas. The artist is Jerry Ordway.
Whoa.
God damn. So this is Cap in an early adventure in 1941, before America's even entered the war officially, and taking on the superior Roy Thomas. The Nazi super soldier called Der Wunderkrieger. Or Der Wunderkrieger, or Wonder Warrior. Oh, and then Samaritan the Human Torch in immediately. That's amazing. Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's. Now you got to smile when you look on page 47, the Marvel Summer Special. Remember they used to do books like this?
Yeah, I actually believe that's been canceled. No, I'm not joking when I say that. Like I'm almost certain I read an article somewhat recently that said that the summer special had been canceled. But if I'm wrong, they can correct me on the comic forums. But I'm almost certain I read that somewhat recently that I guess they're not going forward with it after all. Yeah.
Okay, since we're kind of short on time, why don't we just motor through a couple things, and we'll get to the rest of the book.
Yeah, give me 1 sec though, because if I don't call out back on page 35 the fact that Peter David is writing Fantastic Four, then that
that crossover he's doing.
Yeah, okay. The Prodigal Son. It's part of a 3-chapter series that's going to cover Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow!
But just in general, Peter David covering Fantastic Four, and it looks like it's going to have Kazar in it in some form.
Yep.
Immediately.
Shanna. Yep.
Oh my God! Yes, immediately in with
Peter
that
David could write a grocery list. I'd find it captivating.
That is true. Yep.
Quickly shout out on page 48, Evaders by Zdarsky, Carlos Mango, and Butch Weiss. One of the best Marvel comics you may not be reading.
Yep.
Fascinating retro history on the Submariner. Recommend enough. Okay, so Spider-Man Life Story #5, the 2000s. Okay.
Oh,
all I'll say is I want to say more of this for the next comic talk.
Yeah.
But I just read issue 2, the 70s.
Oh my God.
Ian, I nearly wept. I was so happy at how good this book is.
So good.
So we'll come back to that when we have more time.
Oh,
really
absolutely.
talk about it. But
yeah, and the cover too is just striking.
Yeah, it's God. Chip Zdarsky. Oh.
Yep.
If you're not reading Black Panther, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, this is truly an epic arc by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Daniel Acuna. It's one of the most exciting Black Panther stories I've read in years. The sheer scope of it is really awesome, and I mean awesome in the true sense of that word. Definitely. I mean, I hope they eventually collect this in a massive trade because it deserves it. It's amazing.
Yep.
What else do you want to shout out for Marvel before we move on?
Not much else. I'll mention that the second issue of Silver Surfer Black comes out this month on page 65. Donnie Cates spinning a yarn about Silver Surfer. We touched on the first issue last previews, and I'm definitely interested in where this goes, especially with the art style there. It's very, very striking. So I'll mention that. And I think that's just about it off the top of my head, because everything else seems to be ongoing and stuff we've already touched on in previous episodes.
All right. And one thing I'll quickly mention is that you have a new writer for the Star Wars, this flagship Star Wars title, which has been consistently great on page 9091. Greg Pak with art by Phil Noto.
Oh, wow.
So I'm all over that because I've yet to read a bad issue in that series. So
yeah.
It sounds like they're going to maintain that consistently high quality. I won't talk about any trade just because we're short on time.
That's fine.
We can always do that next time.
Yep.
So
sounds good to me.
All right. So looking at the rest of the book, if you're a Vampirella fan, she's getting a new #1 from Dynamite on page 184 with a Frank Cho wraparound cover.
Mm-hmm.
I never really read Vampirella, but if you're a fan of it, there you go. There's a brand new series. You have any Vampirella experience or no?
Not really, no. I've seen more pinups of Vampirella than I've read issues, but that's about it. My Adobe just crashed on me, so just go ahead and jump forward. I'll catch up to you.
Sure. Page 204, they're collecting the Innes and Derek Robinson's classic Boys series in a series of omnibuses. That's going to be a series on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they don't wimp out and do that, and they do that series justice. You know when that's starting?
Soon. I believe the first trailer came out.
Okay.
So I have viewed the trailer, and it did look like it's just about as dark and gritty as the series was.
Well,
so
I'll look for the trailer because I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Yep.
I wanted to point out. You got anything for Boom you wanted to shout out?
I do have on page 212 a New World, an original graphic novel softcover by David Jesus Vignoli. New World weaves the stories of 3 characters from unique backgrounds: an indigenous warrior seeking revenge against those who invaded her land, an African musician fighting for freedom against those who enslaved him, and a Portuguese sailor in search of redemption, who come together on a heroic quest to free the world from an encroaching darkness. Very intrigued. Right there. So
absolutely.
And I like seeing new original graphic novels in general. So
page 244, I applaud previews for doing Kid Comics Month recommended reading.
Yep.
So I've always, when I was a retailer and beyond that, anytime you get kids, speaking as a teacher, anytime you get kids to read anything besides their cellular devices, that's a huge achievement. So wonderful to see all the variety they have here. Quickly, Dave Sims' Aardvark Vanaheim label on page 246, Fornicators Incorporated one-shot.
Okay.
You got to read the copy, ladies and gentlemen. I can't really do that justice at the moment.
Oh,
but,
my God.
I want to point out on page 248, Terry Moore, 5 years. So I read the first issue. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. This is him bringing all of his characters in his Moore universe together into one epic story that literally is about the end of the world. It's freaking amazing. The first issue was jaw-dropping. So if you love Strangers of Paradise, Echo, Motor Girl, Rachel Rising, they're all there, and believe me, it all works. So definitely give that a try if you love Moore and his characters. What else do you want to shout out from the rest of the book? Again, I apologize to the audience. We're kind of running through because we have another big episode we're going to be doing it right after this one. We have people waiting for us. So
not a problem. Yeah, I'm trying to – I actually had the wrong previews opened up a
Well, I'll mention
ago,
on page 258 while you're looking through.
Go ahead.
From the Aftershock label, they did an original graphic novel, came out just recently. A Garth Ennis Keith Burns' war story about a British bomber pilot at the end of the war in Europe. And I love because they decided to give Innes a whole graphic novel to tell this story. And this is volume 2. Again, when I think about the future of the medium, this is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about, where they're going right to the OGN format, which in many ways I prefer at this point.
Yeah.
And the first arc was phenomenal. Like Keith Burns does his homework, the attention to detail in terms of the equipment, the uniforms, beautiful. And of course, it's Garth Ennis doing a war comic. That should be enough. No one does it better.
I have on 264, speaking of collections, a volume 1 trade paperback of Dead Kings, new work by Steve Orlando with art by Matthew Dow Smith. Young brother has been kidnapped by the secret police, and his brother drags himself back into the madness with a simple goal to find his brother. Looks very cool. So,
well, Steve Orlando.
Yep, definitely. And
what else you got, Sweetie Pie?
Not much else at the moment, but I do want to touch on some manga, so I'm going to scroll down to that section real quick and see if there's anything that catches my eye there. You got anything else?
I wanted to talk about. Well, I always want to talk about Tomorrow's. That's near the end of the comic section. But yeah, let me jump to that because it's just fresh in my mind. Sure. Oh no, actually no, there was something else I wanted to mention.
I do have something while you look for that.
Go for it.
328. This is all part of the new line that's being put out. Strange Lands #1 by Max Visaggio and Darcy Little Badger with art by Vanessa Del Rey. And Ignited is the other series that's being offered here as well, which is also being offered again for issue 1 that Mark Waid is co-writing with Kwanzaa Osayefo. But this looks to be Adam Land on Indigenous American and Alakshi land, a British Asian, have what some might call a love-hate relationship. They'd probably be better off without one another, except for the fact that they have superpowers that cause mass destruction whenever they are separated. So that is one hell of a marriage right there.
And this is the Humanoids label. And I'm looking down at the bottom of the page. I'm glad you drew my attention to this because I missed it in my first run through the catalog. Is Shanghai Dream.
Yes.
Philippe Therault art, Jorge Miguel. This is right up my alley.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
A young Jewish filmmaker escapes the Nazi threat in Shanghai, where he is forced to adopt to a new land and cope with loss to the magic of filmmaking. Of course, the Japanese are going to attack China in this same time period. So, okay. I may have to splurge on that. I wanted to mention back a few pages. You put me right where I needed to be, actually. On page 326, Ditko Shrugged. The Uncompromising Life of the Artist Behind Spider-Man.
Wow.
So this is a new in the wake of his death. He died recently at the age of 90. And as we kind of can anticipate, I think he died and no one knew, right? So they found his body at some point after that, which, knowing the way Ditko lived, was not surprising. But this is a new biography of his whole life. $49.95. The company is Hermes Press. They always do good historical work. I will probably get this.
I have to mention on page 334 a parody one-shot being put out with 6 different covers because, of course, called X Liefeld's #1. The writer is Rob Pachik with art by Rob Nikawakakis. And yes, please go buy all 6 issues of this because then you'll get the full experience of X Liefeld's.
Whatever you may say about Liefeld, the guy still makes money.
Yes, he does. He most definitely does.
I never took to his work, but
so it goes.
That's another discussion. But
yeah,
page 345 from Lion Forge, Irena Book 1, Wartime Ghettos. This is about a true story about a woman who helped sneak children out of the Warsaw Ghetto during the Nazi occupation of Poland.
Oh wow.
Her story was embraced worldwide in 1999 with a celebrated play and television movie, which I had never seen, actually. She's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. She passed away in 2008 at the age of 98. I love the art style. You see the art style in this?
I do, yeah. No, yeah. It's very Even though it's a little bit cartoonish, at the same time it's raw and realistic.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I love
Written
it.
by Jean-David Morvan and Séverine Treffaut. I butchered the name. I apologize. Illustrated by David Evrard.
Yeah,
So
I'm almost guaranteed to be reading this at some point.
Yeah, only $20 before the discount.
Definitely. Yep.
So that's I'm sure well worth people's time. I think I'm on to tomorrow's. Do you have anything else in between you wanted to shout out?
Go right ahead.
So tomorrow's, again, as I say virtually every month, if you love the history of comics, you appreciate the history of comics, there's nobody does more justice to it than this company. And they have a tribute issue to Steve Ditko in Alter Ego number 160, which is Roy Thomas's long-running legendary fanzine. Steve Ditko Remembered. You've got an overview of his entire career, Marvel, Charlton, DC. A rare late 60s interview by Mike Richard Howell. Remember, Ditko gave very few interviews in his whole life. Mm-hmm. He only went to a couple cons. I think the last con he went to was like before he even left Marvel. You've got notes by Nick Caputo, tributes by Gilbert, Paul Levitz, Bernie Bubness, Barry Pearl, Roy Thomas, who knew Ditko at least a little bit. Although did anybody ever really know Ditko? That's a question one has to ask.
Yeah.
So that's immediate. And then on page 390, back issue 115, Sci-Fi Superheroes. Starlin's Dreadstar, Judge Dredd, Nova, Jerry Conway and Mike Vosberg's Starman, Paul Levitz, Steve Ditko Starman, Walter Simonson's Justice Peace. I remember him from Thor. Greg Potter and Gene Colan's Gem, Son of Saturn. Wow. That's going to be fun. So
I found what I was looking for on page 378. Let's roll back ever so slightly to something that I mentioned was going to be happening this month on last episode of Previews. Blade Runner 2019 #1.
Ooh.
I was so looking forward to this when I read about it happening. But Michael Green, the screenwriter for Blade Runner 2049, Logan, American Gods, and a writer for Supergirl, along with longtime co-writer Mike Johnson of Batman, Superman, and Star Trek. This is on page 378.
Okay.
And illustrated by Andres Guinaldo of Justice League Dark and Captain America. Set in the neo-noir city of Los Angeles 2019, veteran Blade Runner detective Ash has a new case, a billionaire's child kidnapped by bioengineered replicants.
And the original movie took place in
I think 2017 or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is shortly after that story then.
Yeah, because 2049 is the follow-up movie.
Right.
So this is somewhere smack dab in the middle of that.
And when did they say the blackout occurred in 2049?
I think
Do you remember?
I think it might have been like 2021 or 2022. Okay. So we're not there yet.
That's a movie we have to talk about when we have more time, because I've never discussed that movie with you, Blade Runner 2049.
I adore that movie. Yeah,
I'd love to talk to you about it when we have more time.
Yep, great stuff.
I want to point out quickly on page 392, because Valiant always does interesting stuff. Killers #1, B. Claymore, Fernando Dagnino. This is, let's see, 5 deadly assassins are recruited into a game of cat and mouse by the mysterious Jonin. I love stories like this, and it's B. Claymore is a fine writer. He did Hawaiian Dick, so I may check this out. Artwork looks fantastic, by the way.
Yeah,
look at those sample pages. I think I've shot my bolster in our abridged version of Previews for this month.
All right,
you got some manga you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll through real quick. I always like touching on at least 1 or 2 volumes if I can find them. So let me get down there real quick. And I think what I'll do is mention the featured item out of Viz Media on page 427. It's called Beastars. At a high school where the students are literally divided into predators and prey, it's personal relationships that maintain the fragile peace. Who among them is a Beastar, an academic and social role model destined to become a leader in a society naturally rife with mistrust? So it's a world where everybody's an animal, and you're divided into 2 sections. And this is volume 1 of that manga, story and art by Peru Itagaki, and it's going to be available pretty soon from the looks of things. And I love the art style just looking at it, and it definitely has me intrigued. I have a feeling I'll be hearing about this at cons in the next couple of months as they start that up again. So I think that is going to be my pick as we wrap things up.
And let's remind our audience that as we shoot our bolt here, that this episode will not be possible without Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com, for all of your comic ordering needs. Anything you see in previews, it was available from that fine family-owned company, and everything is at as much of a discount as they can offer. So again, if you don't have a comic shop near you, or you don't like your local comic shop for whatever reason, DCB Service, we all use them and we all swear by them.
Okay. And on that note, you can visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. Our email address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to send us a voicemail, you can do so at 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com to talk more about this episode and any other episode that you may want to discuss. Our Twitter is at Comic Geek Speak, and we're on Facebook at Comic Geek Speak as well. And please submit your Muddle the Merds if you have them. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Yes.
You got it on Wednesday, and you were psyched about it going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything the geeks love. From capes to laser beams, opinions like the seas.